Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Episode 2 of Season 4. We are joined by the sales king himself, Chuck Thokey, Contractor Coach Pro. Chuck, thank you so much for jumping in with us.
Thanks so much, Michael.
I am excited. I think that obviously Season 4 is going to be great. We've got an awesome lineup. We're going to have great episodes. Like I was telling you before we went live here, we're following Pete Smith. So we had a lot of energy last time, but this is going to be a good one. Chuck, real quick, for the people that don't maybe know, talk a little bit about who Chuck Thokey is, and then, that move into Contractor Coach Pro that's a fairly recent move.
Yeah. So I've been in sales for about 20 years. I've been in home improvement sales, probably about 15 years of that. And coming into Bath Fitter, I was the VP of sales and marketing with Bath Fitter, and then was recruited into a very large roofing organization, which was Able Roof and Mr. Roof, where I worked with all the sales teams across the United States with them. As you know, they're very large. And so then once everything went very, very well there, and I left there about 5 years ago. I've been coaching and speaking professionally since, and it's been fantastic. And I'll tell you, and I'm just giving you the short story, the summary. But the opportunity arose to come and join with Jim. I still have my own company, but I do a lot with Contractor Coach Pro. I work with a lot of their clients, and he has what he's done with Contractor Coach Pro, and it's what I looked at as some of the hardest pieces of the puzzle for coaching in general, which is when you go and you start to coach a company, and I can't talk to them about accounting because I don't know anything about accounting. I can't talk to them about their a lot of their production stuff because I'm in sales. So inside of Contractor Coach Pro, he's given the autonomy of the biggest coaches in the industry to come in and coach underneath that umbrella, and to pass those coaching clients to whoever needs them so that they can be best served.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the world of sales and the year 2020 that we just went through, and then we're finally starting to, see the clear skies ahead here in 2021. But I think that so many people learned a ton of valuable lessons in how they sell, how they approach sales. For you and the clients that you coached, how valuable was it to basically, evaluate the processes that you were going through, finding out the things that we need to keep and do, and then finding new innovative ways to sell? How important was 2020 for the people you work with?
2020 was, and my answer may be different than a lot of people's, because I've worked with so many companies over just the last 18 months even. But 2020 was not as big of a turnaround for the industry. Some people say, oh, it was so great and we're all working from home now. And a lot of companies are pulling it back in. They want to be able to have that discipline and that accountability. So, the amount of people that are working from home, there's still a lot more that are working from home today than there were, over a year ago. There's no doubt. But if you're looking at this as, oh, the industry's changing, we're all doing Zoom meetings with our clients, that's not the case. We tried it. As you know, some of the biggest companies in the industry have tried all the Zoom meetings. And if anybody says, hey, man, these Zoom meetings work, they're lying to you. Because, a lot of times you're waiting and waiting and that customer never even comes. Or when you do get to the point where you're ready to give price, all they got to do is just say, okay, we need to think about it. And they hit the leave the meeting and they're gone. You still have to be in the house. So it really, here's where things changed is the need for, and this isn't just, hey, I'm on with company cam, but the need for a app like Company Cam, it came 10x. We didn't talk as much about it. I mean, we knew that we needed Company Cam early on, but when COVID, or sorry, when the whole thing over the last 18 months happened, I mean, it was 10x. I mean, we needed Company Cam.
I think that's a great point, Chuck, that, you know, the roots aren't going to necessarily change. We had to do it differently for a little while. I would say there's probably some value though to have, like, I can't get an in-person meeting with so and so. We do have the ability. We've done Zoom before, like maybe like that last ditch effort of, well, how about Zoom? So I think that's a really important thing for you in sales and what you do. I think I am really curious to know, 2020, sure, but just big picture, how do I go about making sure that as I scale my company, I'm managing my sales guys? Because one or two sales guys, it's pretty easy to see, John, you got 33 appointments set, and Steve, you got 28. Pretty good week for us. But everybody talks about that. I want to scale. I want to grow. I want to get into, I want a bunch of top reps, and I want to talk top rep here in a little bit. But how do I make sure that I've got the infrastructure to manage and make sure that a lot of reps are succeeding?
So I'm going to come at this a little bit differently here, and I love that you bring this up. Is over the course of 2020, a lot of companies have gotten a ton of momentum, and we look at this as like the pendulum effect. They got a lot of momentum; they're swinging this way. But if they don't take advantage of this, and many of these companies don't have sales managers, they have a lot of salespeople. That's what they focused on, is we just need to get more salespeople, which is not a bad thing. I am not, I'm not one of these people that look down at flooding the floor. Get all the people in that you can, and then keep the best. But when you're looking at, we now have all these salespeople, and when that pendulum starts to swing back, which is happening right now, Michael, that pendulum's starting to come back now that they lifted all the mask mandates. People are seeing that it's kind of going back. And if they didn't do the right thing, they didn't either bring in a professional coach, or just go out and get good mentors, whether it's just other guys in the industry that knows what they're doing, get into some of these mastermind groups, and start to realize that, oh my gosh, we've got the money to do a lot of this stuff now. And instead of going out and buying, which I'm seeing a ton of this, they're buying these exotic cars and all that. The companies that are going to stay in the business are the ones that they're still driving around in the old Ford truck, and they're putting all that money into the infrastructure of the business. They're bringing in great sales management. They're bringing in new processes for their production departments. That is, that's really, where this pendulum, it'll stay on the right side of the right side of the machine, rather than swinging back the other way. And I'm going to tell you, there's going to be more companies going out of business over the next 6 months than we've seen go into business over the last 18 months. I mean, they just were not ready for this pile on of business.
That's really interesting. It brings me to a quote that an upcoming guest on Talk About It, actually, Paul Reed. I've heard him say it a couple times when he presents, and it's back when Paul was doing really well chasing storms, but Paul wasn't doing really well at growing an organization and growing a team. And something he's learned the hard way, but he says, we crushed that storm, but how many dead bodies? And he's talking about salespeople. How many did I leave behind from, whether that be burnout or just improper training or management? And it's so true that, when it's good and everybody can get theirs and it's great. But without having that infrastructure and that management in place, it's really hard to sustain. For you guys, like in the coaching world, when do I know as a company that I probably need to look at bringing in somebody to manage my sales team, and then, probably need to get them some training so that they can become the best manager possible? How do I know when I'm at that point?
So if you're under 5 reps, it's still good to have a manager, but that's the only point where you should have a working manager, where they're still out in the field, they're still selling. Once you get over that 5 to 6, You need to get them out of the field where they can continue to not only focus on that 5 to 6, but how can I get to 10, and still be able to feed them. So, there's too many companies that they want to cheapen out on the sales manager and say, hey, I'm going to only give them a certain percentage, and then they need to go out and find the rest of their own business. I'm like, you're really just taking them away from what they should be doing and putting them back into the weeds, and then giving them several people to hope they can follow them through the weeds. And it's not going to happen. So, that's they need, anytime you get it right around that 4 to 5, that's when they need to start looking for that manager. But nobody's going to say, okay, we got 4 or 5, we're good right now. No, you still have to continue to grow. As you grow, then the marketing department or the marketing team has to figure out, how am I going to feed these people? So, now we need to look at how many leads do we need to feed the reps that we have.
That's also a great. I love that because I hear it all the time where when you talk to these companies, whether it's a roofing contractor, anybody that's out, trying to sell jobs in the contracting world, and you ask them about their sales team, and they would say they never have enough leads. I never have enough leads, and my question always, and I'm not nearly as good at this as you, Chuck, but I always ask them, well, what are you closing at? And some of the closing percentages that I hear just floor me. And I'm saying, man, I don't think it's a leads problem. I think it's a closing problem. Yeah, we're closing 25% of them. Well, seems like we got 75% too many leads until obviously we're never going to close 100, but a lot of these guys aren't closing. And I think that, they worry so much about getting the leads in, and they don't focus on how are we closing? How are we making our reps better? Obviously, a manager is a big piece of that, but then training and making sure that we're, keeping our team, as sharp as possible, developing them. Is that something you see contractors that are successful really invest in? And maybe the ones that are struggling, that's not even on their radar, is how do I make my sales reps better?
Well, there's a lot inside of that. I mean, whether it's how they work leads, how they increase their close rate. To tell you the truth, one of the easiest ways to understand your close rate and understand your closing is look at the leads you're giving them. It's not just, hey, we got this from underneath the rock and we're going to see what you can do with it. You know, you have to be very careful of the leads that you send to your reps, because when these people say, hey, I don't like Home Advisor, I don't like any of these lead aggregators, and the reason is because they don't know how to work them. I mean, most of these companies, lead aggregators, are 20 to 30% of their business because they know how to work them, and they're also some of the lowest marketing costs they have. I mean, we love Home Advisor. I'd love to get on a podcast and tell you how much I hate Home Advisor, so I can tell all of our competitors that oh, you don't like those. Don't go in with Home Advisor. We love them. I mean, we sold $4.2 million with them last year. So as a sales manager myself, so when we look at this, we have to work the leads that we get correctly, and we need to move them to the sales reps the way that they should be. What I mean by this is, if I took every lead I had from, we're talking about Home Advisor. So if I took every lead I had and I just threw it at the sales team, they'd hate them. They would talk about how poor quality it is. But the ones that we give them are the ones that we know have quality to them. So we're going to move that to the sales reps. Before you know it, the sales reps love them because we move the right leads to the right sales reps. So that's the first part of it. The other thing here that we see so often when you're looking at the companies that are very, very good in sales versus the companies that are struggling is that they don't understand that you don't just pick a lead source and go with it. You should have close to 6 lead sources at any given time. And, you never give a sales rep the lead as far as to set it up. Set up a phone room. I don't care if that phone room consists of one person, even if it's the wife of the owner, husband of the owner, whatever, then you have to have somebody that sets that lead. And then once that lead is run, the company needs to take that lead back. They need to squeeze that towel. Which, we can go on and on about Rehash, but that's really what we need. You get into training, you have to train the reps. They have to have a sales system so that they understand how to work the leads. They have to have a good lead flow. And that lead flow does not have to be 3 leads a day for every sales rep. We look at 1.5 leads for every sales rep. The reason why I do that is I will never have too many leads. I'm not going to have all these leads and wonder what to do with them. So we always have guys that get sick or whatever. So we always have floaters that can take leads. But that's how we look at how many leads a day each rep has. So I hope that answers a lot of your question. I know
It
I
does.
danced around a little bit.
No, it absolutely does. I do want to dive a little deeper into the rehash and just a little bit there. I don't want to get too in the weeds on it, but let's take a quick break and we come back. Let's dive a little deeper there.
Hey guys, Jordan here with a quick reminder that you can catch up on all of the episodes of season 4 at companycam.com/taco-4. And while you're there, if you're not already signed up for Company Cam, you can sign up and get 50% off your first 2 months of Company Cam Pro. Again, companycam.com/taco-4.
We are back with Chuck Thokey. Chuck, we are diving into sales and the importance of managing a sales team, which I think is often overlooked. People love to get boots on the ground, and then, they think as an owner they can do everything else and oversee a sales team, or, maybe they get a ton of reps and they just have one person that's the senior rep and kind of, he's out in the field, but he's also overseeing everything. Before we took that break, I talked about, and I just used rough numbers of 25% closing. That could be 40% closing, 60, whatever. There's always a percentage on the other side that's not getting closed of those. Let's dive a little bit deeper into whatever that number is for these contractors, because they all know their closing percentage, or they think they do. There's then that remaining percentage. How do we get the most out of that remaining percentage, or what do we do with those leads?
Yeah, Michael. So when I got into this business inside of sales management, I too was one of these sales managers. Like, how can I get more leads? Where can I find more leads? And a mentor of mine came to me and says, "What are you doing with the leads you already have?" And it hit me. And so that set me on a quest to figure out the secret, if you will, of Rehash. Now, we've all heard of Rehash. We've all have tried to sell the product that fell off the back of the truck. We're going to deep discount this thing because we need to fill up our truck. So, I mean, I've been taught and trained so many different ways of doing Rehash, and it's like Edison. I now know 100 different ways of not to do Rehash because of all the different ways I've been taught. But then there was this, when I figured out Rehash, and it's the same thing that we go through with our clients of, it has to be set up a certain way. And if you're not willing to jump in with both feet and do the rehash correctly, don't spend the money in it. It's like canvassing. If you're not going to jump in with both feet and you're not going to spend the money or the resources that it takes to get that up off the ground, don't start it. So rehash is, I know most people that talk rehash, they're like, "Oh, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to lay it out for you." So with rehash, ultimately, you have to have a specific color. It's not just your phone room spends the next hour doing rehash. No, there's one person or a few, depending on how big your company is, that do nothing but rehash the appointments. Trust me, if you're a company of any size and you've been doing business for a long time, you have the leads. You have thousands of them that you can go through. And so that one caller has a script that they're going to reach out. Now, there's 2 different types of scripts. The first script is one where the lead is more than 90 days old. And then the other script is the lead that just happened, that just went on the appointment. So this person, their whole job is to get the separate salesman back in the house. Now, here's another key to rehash. You do not put the same sales rep back in the house. All they're going to do is pick up where they left off. They're going to come back in and say, "Okay, so I'm guessing that you have some other price for me since we didn't buy from you the first time." So you have to get another set of eyes, and that's exactly what we tell them, is that We don't talk about discounts. We're not going to talk about, hey, we got this sale going on. We want to come in and tell you about it. That we simply want to come back in and put another set of eyes on it. So when that other person comes in and they're specified, now again, this sales rep should be doing nothing more than rehash. And many of the organizations that we work with, that rehash guy is one of their top sales reps. That's how many leads aren't sold on the first visit. He goes back in and works with the homeowner and comes out with the sale. And many times, not always, but many times for more than what the other guy quoted to begin with.
Mhm. So one question I would have is the person that's the rehash person and they're making those calls, are they actually also the salesperson or are they just teeing up a rehash salesperson?
They're just teeing it up. Yep.
No, I love that concept. Um, so when you structure it that way, circling back all the way to where we started with this and talking about managing sales teams, I'm guessing that sales manager becomes extremely important if you're going to go and have some sort of rehash team and rehash setup because otherwise you're looking at the Wild West and you've probably got all sorts of, under the table deals like, hey, when you get one of these rehash sets set back up, like make sure you slip it my way. Do you see the sales manager really having a huge impact in getting that rehash program set up?
They are key in doing so. They also have to work with their team because the team can't be. I mean, I've been in these sales teams where they call it the rehash king, which is the guy whose jobs get rehashed the most, and that's not a good thing to have. You don't want to find out that your guys are laughing at each other because Billy, his jobs, he closed at 25%, and another 25% were rehashed over the last 2 weeks. You don't want to get into that. So it has to look very, the perception has to be very positive. And some of the owners are going to disagree with me, but throw them a bone, whether it's a couple $100, $100. That helps them. For one, it keeps the culture in the right place. It also helps pay for their time and gas that they spent to go out there. And we kind of went in and sent somebody else in to clean up the mess. I mean, that person got the commission, but throw the salesman a little
I
bit as
love
well.
that. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that from a culture standpoint because I don't know. I'm of the belief that your team is only as good as the people that are training your team and getting your team ready. And so, if Billy is only, I think it was Billy, you said it was a 25% closer. Like if that's the case, I have to look as a owner of the company or as a sales manager and ask myself, if Billy's truly meant to be with us, what did I do wrong to get him to only 25%? And what am I doing wrong that, we're not closing better or seeing an increase? I would assume that's when the coaching and the training comes into play. And I'm sure just like with company cam, that you hear the same things as we do all the time. I, that's not in our budget right now. Well, Mr. or Mrs. Contractor, I can save your guys 20 minutes a day. What's their time worth to you? It's just not in our budget right now. And the same thing with the coaching. Like, hey, we can help increase their closing by X%, and we can help increase the amount that we're closing. We're upselling now on jobs. When and I've kind of asked this question earlier, but more towards the manager. At what point now do I go and say maybe somebody externally to help develop my people is a good move? Like, how big of a company do you guys generally work with?
We work with companies that are as small as 2 or 3 million, and all the way up to well over 2 to 300 million. So now the way that I'm going to work with each one is totally different. Working with kind of a mom and pop organization to help them figure out how to grow is going to be much different than me going in and working with an entire sales team typically when we're brought into a much larger organization, it's to find and train a sales manager to help them understand how to grow that business, like I did when I was at Able. Now, coming into a much smaller organization, we need to help them try and figure out their processes. They go in and all they want to do is like I would call this running in quicksand. They just watch their computer screens and figure out what problem am I going to fix next, and who's going to come into my email next and tell me that they need a new roof or whatever the case may be. So again, we work with anybody on the spectrum there. But how would you know when to hire a coach? Well, I'm going to tell you that every company needs a coach, and it's just like myself. I have a coach. My coach is Keith Rosen, which is the godfather of coaching. I got him way back 20 years ago, and I've been working with him ever since. But his book is what drawn me to him, which is Coaching Salespeople into Sales Champions. And as of today, it's still kind of my Bible as far as what I do on a daily basis. But somebody like him and Dave Allen for time management, some of these guys, these are the guys that I look to coach me so that I can be efficient when I coach. So when I look at all these companies, there's not a company out there that doesn't need coaching. Somebody to hold them accountable, ask them what they did over the last week and why, they decided to make that move instead of this move.
I completely agree. And I would even maybe go as far as saying that it's not when do I need a coach, it's what coach is going to be the best fit for me. And I think that, if we had Jim on with us, he would even echo that same thing that, there's other coaches out there that are good, but you got to find the one that's the best fit for you. I mean, Contractor Coach Pro's crushing it. Had a great 2020. I want to close with kind of a few new things, but would that be a safe statement that it's not when do I need a coach, it's how do I find or what coach is the right coach for me? Is that probably kind of where you would have it at?
That is absolutely, it couldn't be more true. I mean, you have to, just like when you find a sales manager, it's a sales manager that fits your culture. You got to find a coach that fits your culture. Not every coach is going to work in every scenario.
Exactly. So I kind of
I
want
will say there's a lot of coaches out there that think they can.
No, absolutely. And then I think that's one of the things I appreciate about Contractor Coach Pro so much is that initial coaching session is more of it's almost dating on both ends of things. Like Contractor Coach Pros showing, and talking about what they do, but it's also kind of figuring out, is this a fit both ways, which is so important. Let's wrap up with two new things that you guys have going at Contractor Coach Pro. Two different things, but I think they're both very needed things for the industry and things that maybe go, forgotten. It's everybody's like, oh, I'm going to make myself as an owner. Yeah, we can invest in myself, make me a better owner, make my company better as a whole. But you've got a new program called Top Rep. I think just finished one up. And then you've also got your Boost program for the smaller companies. You can give a little high level on what those two programs are, but I want to know what pushed you guys at Contractor Coach Pro into saying we need to focus on boosting these smaller companies into that $2 to $3 million, $5 million range. And then we also, what do we do for these companies that have 10, 15, 20 sales reps to make sure that they're all performing as top reps? So kind of two-part question, go high level on what the programs do, but then I want to know, more importantly, what pushed you guys into creating them.
Well, we always like to be all things to all people, and we understand that we're not. But one thing that we really want to focus on is, no company left behind. There's many companies that come to us and they're like, I just can't afford, a full coaching spread, if you will. And so what we've developed are several different scenarios where you don't have one-on-one coaching, you can have group coaching, and this is still very, very specialized. So for the boost, contractor boost, which is, we are very, very excited about contractor boost. It allows these companies that, they either want to stick their toe in the water, they've never been coached before, they just want to figure out what it is, or they're just really small, they're just starting out, and they want to learn how to continue to grow without, spending, a lot of money to do that. Because when we do one-on-one coaching, it does take a lot of our time to do it. So if we can put everybody into a group scenario and do the same thing through Boost, that's what we're doing there, and it's filling up fast. So if anybody is looking to do that, I would urge you to get on to Contractor Coach Pro and sign up for that before you get locked out. We don't want such a big group that it's ineffective, so we're keeping it very small. But what's another nice thing with groups is that you get to see everybody else's perspective too. So when you're asked a question, you may not know how to answer that question, but yet you listen to someone else's answer and you're like, you know what, that's great. That's exactly what I was thinking too. So that helps you out. So that's Contractor Boost. Now we also have, like you were saying, you have a lot of sales reps. And so, how do I get these guys to the point where they're firing on all cylinders? Maybe we don't fly Chuck out and have them train them right there. We're going to fly all of our people in with a lot of other companies, and we're going to have them compete. Even if they are just starting out, they don't have to compete at a high level, but they come in, they watch some of the best, learn it and regurgitate it, role play it and show everybody exactly what a sale is supposed to look like, rather than sitting there watching me speak for 45 minutes and looking like the president, where I'm just waving and say, all right, guys, see you later. We are really there for 2 days and immersive training with these sales reps. We're going to start from what's your mindset to how to show up at the door. I mean, we're going to show them scripts that the best companies in the country are using right now. So, when they're wondering, how can this company or that company do 2 and 3 and 400 million, we're going to show you. We're going to lay it all out for these guys. Not only are we just going to put it in front of them, but we're going to test them on it.
I love it. I'm excited about both programs. Something about Contractor Boost, when Jim first told me about it, it just really resonated with me, because what I found is these guys that are 10, 20, $50 million companies, they've already created these group settings that they're talking to other really large contractors and learning from them and those kind of things. And what's happened is, Contractor Coach Pro really just is opening the door for these smaller guys that are, maybe they don't know where to find people their same size to interact with, or they're even afraid to. They're saying, it's hard enough for me right now. I don't want to go and talk to somebody else that may be even similar to my size or close to my market. You're just opening that door so that they can learn from each other and grow. And I'm excited about Boost. I think Top Rep's awesome. I love Top Rep, but Boost is really, really something I'm excited about. So, Chuck, I really appreciate you jumping in with me. I can't believe we got to season 4 without having Chuck on talk about it, but you're here now, episode 2. Great episode. Really appreciate it.
All righty. Thank you.
And we will see everyone next week with episode 3.